Charlie Chaplin seduced a 12-year-old, married her when she got pregnant, then paid a doctor $25,000 to falsify the birth certificate. He made the world laugh while hiding crimes that could have landed him in prison for 30 years. But that's just the beginning, because when you find out who he seduced next and what the FBI found, you'll never watch his films the same way again. Chapter 1. What made the world's funniest man so broken? Before the fame, before the mustache, there was just a little boy trying to survive. Charlie Chaplin was born in 1889 in one of London's poorest neighbourhoods. His parents were both performers, his mother Hannah, a singer, an actress, his father, Charles Sr., a singer too, but their careers collapsed fast. His father abandoned the family when Charlie was barely a toddler. His mother, she slowly lost her grip on reality. By age 7, Charlie had watched her carted off to a mental asylum. That's when the system stepped in. He and his brother were thrown into a brutal orphanage where lice and ringworm were common. His head was shaved. He was beaten for speaking out of turn. His only escape was watching the world from behind dirty windows and dreaming. But even in poverty, something clicked. At age 5, when his mother's voice failed during a performance, young Charlie was pushed on stage to cover. The crowd laughed. Coins flew. I picked them up before continuing, he later said. It wasn't just applause, it was survival. By 14, he was working in a comedy troupe, performing alongside a young Stan Laurel, and at 21, he boarded a ship to America. Standing at the rail, he joked to his friends, "America, I am coming to conquer you." They all laughed, but it wasn't a joke. Everything, the hunger, the heartbreak, the nights spent alone, fueled the soul of the character that made him immortal, the tramp. He later admitted, "I had no idea of the character, but the moment I put on the clothes, I felt him." Hours of digging went into finding this story, so if you love forgotten Hollywood history, hit subscribe and stick around. There's so much more they never wanted you to know. But the real magic didn't begin until he picked up a baggy pair of trousers and accidentally created the most famous character in silent film history. Chapter 2. Who was the real man behind the tramp? It started with a telegram. Keystone Studios was searching for someone named Chaffin or something like that. They meant Chaplin, and in 1913, that accidental call would reshape cinema forever. But his first film, a disaster in his eyes. I was stiff, I took all the surprise out of the scenes. He later confessed. Disappointed, he almost walked away. But then, something clicked. On a whim, Chaplin threw together a costume, oversized pants, a tight jacket, massive shoes, and a tiny mustache. He had no idea what he was doing, but when he stepped on set, "The moment I was dressed, I felt the person he was," Chaplin said. "By the time I walked on stage, he was fully born." That misfit silhouette became the tramp, and audiences couldn't look away. By 1915, critics weren't just amused, they were in awe. One wrote, "He was born to laughter as much as Edison was born to invention." The industry noticed too. Suddenly Chaplin was earning $1,250 a week. A year later, that jumped to $670,000 annually. And by 1918, he was making over $1 million per project. But he didn't stop there. He co-founded United Artists to take control of his own films. He didn't just star, he wrote, directed, edited, and composed the scores himself. As Marlon Brando once put it, Charlie doesn't direct, he conducts. But control quickly turned into obsession. In City Lights, all Virginia Cheryl had to say was, "Flowers, sir." Simple, right? Not for Chaplin. He made her repeat it 342 times. Over and over. He didn't just direct, he dictated. Every blink, every pause had to be exactly as he imagined, or it didn't make the cut. Because deep down, the starving child who once begged in the streets of London still needed the world to love him, and he wouldn't accept anything less than perfect. But just as his brilliance reached new heights, his personal life began to spiral into scandal. Chapter 3. How did Hollywood let him marry? Teenagers. Charlie Chaplin was a genius on screen, But off it, his personal life spiraled into tabloid chaos. He married 4 times. 3 of those wives were teenagers. At just 16, swing Mildred Harris became his first wife. Their marriage collapsed in 2 years with accusations of mental cruelty, but the darker scandals were still ahead. Lita Gray was only 15 when she was cast in The Kid. Chaplin, more than twice her age, began pursuing her. "You're an extremely pretty child," he told her before seducing her and getting her pregnant at 16. To avoid prison, Chaplin allegedly paid a doctor $25,000 to falsify the birth certificate. The wedding was rushed. The divorce? A media circus. Then came Una O'Neill, 18, daughter of legendary playwright Eugene O'Neill. Chaplin was 54. Her father disowned her completely. But the headlines didn't stop. Actress Joan Barry accused Chaplin of fathering her child. Blood tests proved otherwise, but California courts didn't accept DNA as evidence. He was forced to pay child support anyway. Soon, the government got involved. FBI files accused him of communist sympathies. Senator William Langer even urged the Attorney General to investigate Chaplin for rape and the debauching of girls 16 and 17. In 1952, the US banned him. Chaplin left, never becoming an American citizen. Years later, in the real Charlie Chaplin documentary, Lita Gray spoke plainly. "He groomed me. I was a child. He was a legend, but also a man who lived outside the rules and often beyond accountability." But just when it seemed his scandals would destroy him, Chaplin grew a moustache and used it to take down a dictator. Chapter 4. Why did he turn his comedy against a dictator? In 1940, with the world on edge and war erupting across Europe, Chaplin did the unthinkable. He pointed a camera at Adolf Hitler and laughed. In The Great Dictator, Chaplin played dual roles: a Jewish barber trapped in a brutal ghetto, and Adenoid Hinkle, a power-drunk dictator with a ridiculous walk and an obsession with world domination. It was a bold parody, released while the US was still officially neutral in World War II. But it wasn't just satire. It was personal. Both Chaplin and Hitler were born in 1889. Both sported the same toothbrush moustache, and both had risen to global fame, one through fear, the other through laughter. The Nazis weren't amused. Germany banned all of Chaplin's films. Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda chief, reportedly called him a disgusting Jewish acrobat. Ironically, Chaplin wasn't even Jewish, though he never denied the claim, saying it would have gained him honor. He later confessed, "Had I known the full horrors of the Nazi camps, I could not have made that film." Still, its final scene, his improvised speech for peace and unity, has become one of cinema's most powerful moments. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. But after the war, new enemies emerged. Chaplin's past support for the Soviet alliance during World War II made him a target. HUAC and McCarthy painted him red. They called him a communist, traitor, threat. In response, Chaplin fled America and fired back with A King in New York, a film that mocked capitalism, advertising, and the paranoia of Hollywood itself. He wasn't just fighting fascists anymore, he was fighting the system that made him. But even exile didn't stop the final twist, because after Chaplin died, someone came back for him, literally. Chapter 5. Why was even his coffin stolen? Charlie Chaplin returned to America once, just once. It was 1972. The man they'd exiled for being un-American was now being honored with an Oscar. As he stepped onto the stage, frail, older, but unmistakable, the room rose, and didn't sit for 12 minutes. It was the longest standing ovation in Academy history, but that wasn't the ending. In 1977, he died in his sleep in Switzerland, age 88. Peaceful, then chaos. 3 months later, grave robbers broke into his tomb. They stole his coffin and demanded $600,000 from his widow, Una. She didn't flinch. She told them to burn in hell. The police tapped the lines, chased the leads, and finally caught the men. Chaplin's coffin was found buried in a nearby cornfield. They reburied him again, this time beneath 6 feet of concrete, because not even death could could keep the world from chasing Chaplin. Today, his old home in Switzerland is a museum, Chaplin's World. People go there to smile, but they leave thinking. Here's the twist. Chaplin once entered a look-alike contest in San Francisco. He lost. He came in third. In a hidden preface to his autobiography, he wrote, "If I told everything, my personality would disappear like water into the sea." Maybe that's why he never gave full interviews, never explained the tramp. He didn't need to, because in the end, that he wasn't just the man who made the world laugh. He was the man who exposed it, its cruelty, its absurdity, its hypocrisy. And he did it all without saying a single word. Chaplin didn't fade. He vanished, leaving the whole world still trying to figure out what was real and what was just part of the act. If you're into stories like this, true, twisted, and almost too strange to believe, watch the next one on screen, because Hollywood has 100 more secrets it never meant for us to see.